In 2010, Casey made a taxable gift of $5.1 million to both Stephanie and Linda, a total of $10.2 million in taxable gifts. Calculate the amount of gift tax due this year and Casey's unused exemption equivalent under the following alternatives. And we need to take advantage of Exhibit 25.1 and 25.2, which I have listed here. Now you may need to pause the video to read the numbers from the table. I'm going to slide on down. Okay, now the answer to Part B, well, first off, what does Part B says? This year, Casey made a taxable gift of $15.1 million to Stephanie. Casey's not married, and the 2010 gift was the only other taxable gift he's ever made. Okay, so we have to come up with that $1,808,000. That's the answer, $1,808,000. How do we do that? Well, let's look at the explanation here. The current taxable gift was $15.1 million. His prior taxable gifts was $10.2 for a total of $25.3. Okay, so in 2010, he used $1 million of his exemption equivalent. So at the beginning of 2020, Casey would have an unused exemption equivalent of $10.58 million. That means $4,520,000 of the current gift will not be covered by the unused exemption. And the unused exemption is the $15,100 minus the $10,580, or $4,520,000. So now let's go through our calculations. The current tax on the full exemption of the $11,580 would be $4,577,800, less the tax used on the exemption equivalent of $1 million is $345,800, leaving $4,232, right? $4,232,000. Okay, so then Casey has to compute the tax due is the tax on the cumulative taxable gifts less the tax of prior taxable gift and the unused credit. So we can see the calculation here. We take the tax on the cumulative taxable gifts, $10,065 and $800, right? $10,065, $800, less the current tax on prior taxable gifts of $10.2 million. That gives us the tax on the current taxable gifts. Then we subtract out the unused applicable credit that we calculated right here, and we come up with the gift tax of $1,808, and that's what they were looking for. Okay, now note that Casey's in the top marginal gift tax rate, and $4,520,000 times 40% equals the gift tax on the current gifts of $1,808. So at the end of 2020, Casey would not have any unused exemption equivalents. Now let's take a look at C. This year, Casey made a gift worth $15.1 million to Stephanie. Casey's married to Helen in a common law estate, and the 2010 gift tax was the only other taxable gift he or Helen has ever made. Okay, Casey and Helen elect to gift split. So here is our answers, but let's follow the explanation of how we came up with that. Okay, under gift splitting, neither Casey nor Helen would owe any tax on the 2020 gifts. Casey and Helen will each be treated as having made a gift of $7.55 million, right? That's half the amount. And both gifts would be eligible for an annual exclusion. Hence, Casey and Helen each would report a 2020 gift tax of $7,535. That's $7.55 million minus the $15,000. And in 2010, Casey used $1 million of his exemption equivalent. So in 2020, Casey would have an unused exemption equivalent of $10.58 million, which is the unused applicable credit of $4,232, as calculated in Part B. Now, Casey will calculate the gift tax on his share of his gift as follows. Okay, so we take the $7,535 plus the $10,200, the prior taxable gifts, to come up with a cumulative taxable gifts amount. We figure out what the tax on the cumulative taxable gifts are. We back out the current tax on prior taxable gifts. Okay, that gives us the tax on current taxable gifts. And we get to take the applicable credit on the current taxable gifts, and so the gift tax due is 0. Okay, a couple little notes here at the bottom. Note that Casey is in the top marginal gift tax rate, and that gift tax of 7,535 times 40% equals the gift tax on current gifts of 3,014. That's that amount right there. At the end of 2020, Casey would still have an unused exemption equivalent of 3,045 million. That's 11.58 million less the 1 million used in 2010, less the 7.535 used in 2020. Now let's talk about Helen. She'll owe no transfer taxes on her gift. Her gift will not result in any tax because in 2020 she had 11.58 million exemption equivalent. The tax on the 7,535 gift is 2,959,800, and after application of the 2020 exemption equivalent, she'll have 4,045,000 of exemption equivalent remaining. So that's 11.58 minus the 7.535.